Hello everyone. Today we're going to be doing a little overview of the practicum experience for the MPH-45 program. My name is Andrew. I work in the Office of Field Education and Practice, and thank you very much for taking the time out to listen to this presentation. This recording will contain an overview of the entirety of the practicum, timelines and what to expect. We'll also touch on how students typically find their practicum projects, along with how they find their host organizations. At the end of the presentation, there will be an email address. Please feel free to reach out to that email address with any specific questions, either about your own individual circumstance or anything that was contained in this presentation. Thank you. So what is the practicum? The goal of practicum is to have students apply the knowledge acquired in the classroom and display that knowledge in the field in a meaningful way to a health problem and a host organization. A good way to frame your thinking towards the practicum is to aim to have this experience assist you in reaching a goal, either personal or professional. How can I take what I've gained in this field experience and apply it to my professional development as well as my personal development? The technical term for practicum is called the Applied Practice Experience, sometimes referred to as an APE. It is a requirement in some way or another across all MPH programs. It's a way to showcase the competencies that are taught throughout the program into fieldwork. There is a link to the competencies inside of this presentation if you would like to refresh yourself on what exactly those competencies are. And just a quick overview, each of you are currently enrolled in what we call a practice class. This is where the practicum experience is housed. Your field of study determines which practice class you are in. As for time, there is a recommended minimum of 120 hours. This 120 hours is meant to help provide scope and act as a guide as to how in-depth the practicum project will be. This is a recommendation. There are students who will greatly surpass the 120-hour minimum, and these hours are not tracked. They're simply there to provide scope. A majority of the work for practicum takes place between December and February, but can sometimes continue into March. As for who's involved, you will need to secure a host organization as well as a preceptor. A preceptor acts as almost as a mentor. They will oversee your work at the host organization as well as provide trainings, materials, or data that will be helpful throughout your practicum experience. Your practice course faculty will act as an advisor and will also review and approve the scope of your project. And lastly, the MPH practice office is here as well to answer any questions or iron out any issues as they may arrive. And for deliverables, first, there will be a learning agreement. The learning agreement acts almost as a contract between yourself, your practice course faculty, and your preceptor. Inside of that learning agreement, you will give a summary of the project, including things such as timelines, deliverables, and a work schedule. This way, all three parties involved are clear of what the expectations are for practicum. There will also be two APE products. These two products will demonstrate your proficiency within 5 of the MPH competencies. And lastly, there will be a poster presentation due. And the presentations are typically given to your specific field of study. And lastly, there are deliverables due that will be given to the host organization. These deliverables are determined by you and your preceptor. Within the next few slides, we're going to be looking at a few graphs that showcase what students typically do for their practicum. This includes where students do their practicum, what type of work is done for the practicum, and also what type of deliverables are created. Here we have the types of organizations where students typically conduct their practicum. As you can see, there is a pretty wide variety. Some of the most popular choices include government agencies, hospitals, nonprofits, community health centers. Again, there's a very wide variety of different types of host organizations where students conduct their practicum. Here we have examples of practicum work. Students are typically doing multiple of these things that then make up the practicum. For example, a literature review to familiarize yourself with a topic must be done in collaboration with another component in order to make up that project. As for final products, these are deliverables that will be submitted around the end of the practicum. This graphic can be hard to see, but a few of the popular products consist of a conference abstract, a memo, a research paper that is suitable for publication, and a resource tool or other product that will be used by a host organization. How do students find and secure a practicum placement? We have a few slides with data on the practicum search that all students will go through. These are the resources typically used to find a practicum placement. As you can see, your practice course faculty as well as your previously existing network tend to be the most useful resource in securing a practicum placement. I want to emphasize the importance of your previously existing network as well as the network of your classmates, as all students have amazing networks. We also strongly recommend networking with alumni through LinkedIn. Quite a few students do a practicum with a Harvard Chain alum, and these alumni are very willing to talk with current students. I also want to highlight Career Connect. Career Connect is a site where host organizations post their potential practicum projects and students can browse these postings. There is a link later in this presentation to Career Connect, as it is a very important resource for students to be aware of and utilizing. How many people should you plan on contacting in order to secure a practicum placement? As you can see, the typical number of people contacted in order to secure a placement tends to be around 1 through 5, but in some cases it can be many more. It does vary. This slide contains a little more information on the timeline for the practicum within the MPH-45 program. Starting in September, early in the academic year, is when students are looking to secure a practicum placement. Once a project is identified and secured, students typically spend the rest of September and part of October working with that host organization and preceptor to develop the scope of the project. In November, the learning agreement will be due. Again, the learning agreement acts as a contract between the student, the host organization, and the practice course faculty, so all expectations for the project are clearly defined before the project actually begins. And students typically conduct their practicum starting in December over winter break. Hopefully the bulk of the work for practicum is completed by March, and by April and May, deliverables and presentations will be due as students prepare for graduation. This slide contains the resources that are available for practicum. Again, all of these links will be available in the PowerPoint slide posted to the Canvas site. First, we have practice web pages for students. This will contain some of the information we spoke about inside of this presentation, such as basic overview as well as timelines. We also have a link to our prior host sites and projects. This link acts as a database containing past host organizations as well as past practicum abstracts listed by fields of study. This is a great way for students to look at the past projects and develop a scope for their own project. As I said earlier, Career Connect is a great resource to help students find practicum placements. Inside of Career Connect, there will be project postings. Browse these postings, and if anything catches your eye, definitely send in an application or reach out directly to the preceptor who created that posting. These potential preceptors greatly enjoy engaging in conversations with students, and they're eager to host students as well. And all of the data that was shown throughout this presentation is housed inside of this link, Field Practice Data. It is a public website where students can choose topics and use filters to create relevant graphs to help aid them in either their practicum search or planning their practicum projects. As for people, department faculty and staff are very useful in planning a practicum. The field education and practice team, which consists of myself, Stacy King, and Jocelyn Shu, we're also available on the back end to iron out any issues regarding practicum that you may have. Current students just returning from their practicum. These students are great and can offer some advice about what they have just experienced throughout their own practicum. As for alumni, if you can follow Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health on LinkedIn, you will be able to see all students who have followed the page and are alumni as well. And if you would like to reach out to some of them and connect with them on LinkedIn, that's another great way to help develop your practicum as well as to help in the search process. And lastly, your preceptor. Your preceptor will also help you develop your practicum and be a great resource for you throughout the journey. And thank you for taking the time to listen to this PowerPoint presentation. Again, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to this email address. Whether those questions you have are personal, regarding your personal circumstance, or if there's something regarding this presentation, any of the information that was discussed, please feel free to reach out to this email address and we are happy to help. Thank you very much.